Welcome to ABI Artificial Intelligence Debrief, a conversation about the latest trends, industry news, and research in AI. I'm Paul, and I'm joined by my colleagues Malik and Reece. To start off with a quick intro, I take care of AI hardware research at ABI. My team is made up of Malik and Reece, who will now introduce themselves.
Reece Hayden, Principal Analyst at ABI Research. My focus is all around AI software, from all the way from the foundation models up towards enterprise services.
And my name is Malik Saadi. I'm Head of Strategic Technologies and Technology Innovation. My passion, hobby is following technologies and technology innovation wherever it happens. In the context of AI, trying to contextualize AI innovation across different markets and across different supply chains, either that be cloud, telcos, or industrial manufacturing. So we look at how AI is implemented in those environments.
So the idea of today's conversation is each of us have picked a topic that we've been looking at recently, which covers primarily things that we've been researching professionally, but of course also things that interest us. We're trying to sort of keep it quite topical and current as well. And what I'll do is I'll start off with my topic, which revolves around the AI Server OEM and to a lesser extent ODM market, and sort of quickly talk about some of the things that I've been seeing, what we've been hearing from the industry, and I suppose where our thinking is and sort of some of our forecasts as well. So I think it makes sense to quickly talk about what I'm looking at in the AI server market and why it's interesting, and why I think it's also sort of worth talking about. And it's essentially what we're doing is trying to uncover individual OEMs and to a lesser extent, again, ODMs, differentiation, in particular around sort of some of the larger deployments, because it's still a relatively new area. And as you can see from the CapEx expenditures by primarily hyperscalers, sort of both tier ones and tier twos, as well as what we like to call neo cloud providers, the guys who are renting out GPU capacity, in some cases even back to hyperscalers, and to a lesser extent enterprises, but of course also the foundation model builders, so the likes of Anthropic, OpenAI, xAI. And so what I'm trying to do is uncover the differentiation that server OEMs are able to offer, because from an outside perspective, it seems like some of the offerings are fairly homogenous. Everyone appears to sort of follow NVIDIA's latest releases, of course AMD's also, and Intel's. However, once you start scratching beneath the surface, you do see that there is a lot that's going on, and in particular around managed service offerings, professional service offerings, and making it as easy as possible for diverse customers to deploy large GPU clusters is kind of where these legacy server OEMs are looking to differentiate and provide expertise also around cooling and power supply, end-to-end expertise, if you will, which is something that's distinctly lacking in the marketplace at the moment, given how fast things have moved and how fast AI compute setups are moving as well.
That's interesting, Paul. With the kind of, when you look at the market, and obviously you mentioned that everyone's following on behind NVIDIA and there's a limited differentiation, but there's some emerging at the end of the market. Kind of what do the OEMs and ODMs need to look out for moving forward? Do they need to kind of look out for new opportunities with new chip vendors, new pairs like Samba or Cerebras, or will it mostly be contained to the more traditional NVIDIA AMDs of the world?
I think from what we've seen at the moment, a lot of the OEMs sort of sticking to the traditional vendors. I think there's probably some level of uncertainty about some of the new architectures that we've seen, and I think a lot of the newer companies are probably turning to ODMs to configure the servers or the systems and solutions, sometimes verticalized solutions that they're offering. I think if the question is sort of about what are some of the standout things that I've seen and what's moving the market.
Yeah, so I think one important point to highlight in that specific research, from the wide number of technology suppliers we did talk to, so it emerges that there are three pools or three types of suppliers when it comes to data centers. You have the traditional OEMs, the likes of HP, Dell, and Lenovo. So you have the challengers that are highly focused on AI. data centers. And you have the third element, which are, custom ODMs, basically working with hyperscalers or anyone willing to build their own data centers. And it's interesting, to see for each segment of the market, either that be traditional OEMs or disruptors, AI disruptors, or custom solution providers. So they have different key points of differentiations, and that's really very interesting, to see those dynamics. However, it's, the market will be the judge to see, who are going to be the winners looking forward. Would you agree?
Yes, I'd agree. And I think one of the interesting things that we heard as well is that some of the smaller players, some of whom might have a legacy in HPC deployments from before the AI era, who are now very much focused on AI, potentially able to move slightly faster with, I suppose, a bit more agility than some of the larger players, given their razor focus on just AI data centers, AI domain-specific data centers, with a range of modular, burnt-in, pre-validated solutions that can be deployed quickly, and where essentially then they know exactly what the cooling requirements are needed, what the power requirements that are needed, and they can, as long as they have access to the chips, and that's of course another topic worth mentioning, i.e. the sort of supply constraints around providing the most performant chips. So long as they have access to those, they can very quickly spin up a data center end to end using all the partnerships that they had built previously around their HPC expertise. And then what they wrap around that as well is things like cluster management solutions, software solutions that is, that are able to sort of squeeze every last drop of compute and really push up the utilization of the very expensive hardware, which is again another sort of key differentiator that we're seeing in the market at the moment.
Very good. And I think I'm looking forward actually, to seeing, your reports in that area published. I think the production, will put, the link to it. And yeah, so looking forward, to seeing it published.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think from my perspective, one of the big topics over the last couple of months and going into next year will be around sovereign AI. And we've seen the market really expand over the last year, and there's been a couple of kind of key drivers behind that. But I think firstly, to touch on what we see as sovereign AI and how to define it. Obviously, at the moment, the market's characterized by massive investment in infrastructure from a range of different players, from governments to telcos to just local cloud service providers. But when you look at sovereign AI, that's just one element of the solution. The chips and the infrastructure to support training and inferencing is one element. The second element is a very important element, and one of the reasons that lots of Asia Pacific companies are driving it forward. That's local LLMs or LVMs or local foundation models. And the role they play is ensuring that not only most LLMs at the moment or LVMs are based on Western or mostly with it using English as the primary language. I think local LLMs based obviously in local languages, which enables different players to utilize them, to build with them, to develop applications with them. And that's kind of important from a geopolitical and economic perspective. I think the third element of sovereign AI as an overall overarching regional strategy is about reshoring the supply chain. And we've had lots of conversations over the last couple of weeks around the supply chain and its increasing issue within the AI market. But I think moving into next year, we're going to see sovereign AI strategies from the government, top down from the government, really targeting funding at the supply chain and increasing the scope of foundry capacity, of relationships with relationships with the industry, ensuring that kind of a long-term stability within our supply chain. So at the moment, kind of as I see the sovereign AI ecosystem develop, there's a huge amount of cooperation. And I think the company at the center of all of it is, of course, unsurprisingly, NVIDIA. NVIDIA have leveraged their AI system really, really impressively to build out a solid start in the sovereign AI market. The second element, beyond their AI system, their leading capabilities, all of those standard things now, is their partner ecosystem. And what they've done really is managed to develop tens of strategic partnerships with hyperscalers, with AI model developers, with governments, with local infrastructure builders, local infrastructure operators, to really build out that ecosystem and accelerate their time to market. And kind of the third area where they're really driving their position in sovereign AI is that they're not only deploying the AI systems, but they are ensuring that they are hyper optimized to the workflows, to the workloads, to the kind of the infrastructure, and that they're deploying in it. So that ensures that not only is it the most efficient, it's power efficient, it's got the power consumption down, but it's kind of really, really hyper optimized to what it's doing in that market and the sovereign AI infrastructure.
Yeah, so very interesting development, Reece, but, we have seen a number of announcements on sovereign AI, either that be hyperscalers driven, government driven, or private enterprises driven. So basically, I have a question, about that, and the question is this, how viable, those projects are, and are we going to see all those projects materializing within the next 2 years? And if not, why not?
I think the simple answer is no. I think although there's a lot of funding going in towards sovereign AI, I think as we always talk about, it's the supply chain which will constrain these developments, and also just time to market. Building out these massive data centers, these AI factories, even if they're very well funded, take numerous years. It's not a 1 to 2 year fix, it's a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 year fix. We've kind of seen that with how slowly funding's come. If you look at the US's Chips and Science Act, and that was now 2 years old, and the supply side is just getting the funding that it promised in 2022. And if you take that time lag and add that to funding for sovereign AI projects in different regions, that's one issue. Then you've got the supply chain. Getting those NVIDIA chips or getting those AI systems in place is challenging. I think the third factor is that the supply chain is becoming increasingly constrained, and it's one natural disaster in Taiwan or one geopolitical issue between the US and China, one issue between China and Taiwan away from really constraining that supply chain and impacting the entirety of the sovereign AI market. So I think realistically, the sovereign AI is a strategy that regions, governments need to pursue, but the realistic implementation of it within the next 1 to 2 years to alleviate that AI compute constraint is unlikely to come.
Yeah, so and another issue hearing off and increasingly hearing off is, the energy required to basically to power those mega data centers. We are talking about hundreds of gigawatts, consumed, by those years. And people tend to underestimate or to overestimate, the power of the grids. So the grids, the energy grids, innovation is not going with the same pace as AI and computing innovation. And unfortunately, the technology supply chain need to adapt, to that grid, and not assume basically that the energy is on demand, but rather constrained as well. So all those aspects mean that data center makers will need to think twice about challenges facing them and plan that accordingly. So just coming and saying that, the ambitions, to satisfy demand is there, but basically the challenges, as you mentioned, of supply chain constraint, of energy constraints are likely to delay some of those projects. And we're seeing that already happening.
Yeah, of course. Like you've seen from Google being rejected for a kind of a massive data center in Ireland. And what was the issue cited? It was the power consumption for a local town. If you can't solve that power consumption issue, you can't start to build data centers. And there's going to be massive amounts of innovation within the ecosystem now through scale up, scale out infrastructure, those sort of factors. We've got Marvel come in with custom AI chips, and they're obviously trying to improve that power efficiency within the data center. But these again, it's not a short-term fix. When we think of Marvel and their custom AI strategy, that's 1 to 3 years in terms of the rollout and time to market for those chips. So it's not we choose to follow a sovereign AI strategy, and we can implement that effectively with power consumption solved and power grid solved in 1 to 2 years. It's really a long-term strategy that these regions will need to pursue, which I believe it's the right strategy. I think it's necessary from geopolitical and kind of competitive reasons, but it's not a one-day fix. It's multiple years, and I think it's a very interesting market to watch over the next few years, simply because of all the challenges that it will face in following through on those strategies.
Agreed. Yeah, very interesting times ahead, indeed.
Malik, do you have a topic that you'd like to call out today as well?
Yes, I do have a topic, and it's a topic quite dear to my heart, actually, and what I call 5G AIization. And the AIization is a word I created, and I should coin it probably. But what it means, is just like a way of implementing AI over 5G networks. And why? Think about it, that mobile operators have been building, that 5G infrastructure for the last 5 years, yet they are struggling to monetize it. Right? The ARPUs are coming down, the CapEx have increased, with the implementations of 5G slowing down right now because those networks are not monetized, apart from enhancing, the bandwidth of the networks. So, and this is where AI comes to play. So AI is emerging as a key differentiator for 5G monetization, which will shift the focus from bandwidth advantages to value-added services and enhanced experiences to end users, either that be consumers or enterprise users. So it also offers powerful capabilities and tools for automating networks operations and increasing networks reliability and improving the network efficiency. And obviously there is a lot of money at stake in terms of saving, in terms of OpEx saving. So that's very important, in a time where, operators are struggling, to manage rather complex 5G technologies. AI is coming to help them with that capability, right? So this is really, why you start to hear about AI and 5G. So to the point, I cannot remember a single conversation I was involved with this year, or a single 5G conference, I've been into this year without seeing AI mentioned more than 5G itself, right? So it's quite impressive how the industry is moving. I'm talking about the 5G industry moving, their messaging from traditional 5G technology discussions to more AI discussions. So now the integration of 5G and AI faces several obstacles. Start with an AI or AI model that is valid for certain use cases or functions are not valid for another function or use cases. So that created the fragmented AI implementations across the entire telecommunication stack. So there is also lack of data training, of AI models. Basically AI is quite young in terms of its deployment over the telecoms networks. So yet, we need, to create that data and share those data. So that operators traditionally are very skeptical in sharing,
Mm-hmm.
data from their networks assets. And that's an effort they should be making if they want to take advantage of AI. And finally, bear in mind that AI is not yet, a standard mindset type of technologies alike, the 5G infrastructure, which is mainly driven by technology standardization. Now, if you see the pace of innovation when it comes to AI, it is far faster than any technology you have seen. You see a new AI networks emerging almost by the day. New AI, generative AI models and enforcement learning, appearing, every day. New technologies, new approaches. While if you see the telecoms standards, they move at a rather slower pace. But actually, the harmonization between, the telco infrastructure standard, notably 5G on one hand, and AI technology development, that needs to be kind of balanced, and that's present a difficulty of AI implementation over 5G infrastructure looking forward.
And do you have any visibility over when you might see the first implementations of this, or from both, I guess, the telco side as well as the end customer side, when they might end up seeing some improvements in the service that they're receiving from their operator?
Yeah, well, you start to see, early implementations, mainly by Chinese vendors like Huawei and ZTE, so who have already announced, their AI framework that is commercial, apparently, and this is based on what they call foundation AI model, where basically, you have one foundation AI model that orchestrates all, let's say, AI sub-models that are dealing with different functions or use cases. So obviously now those vendors are implementing AI almost vertically across the entire infrastructure. But while those vendors are actively developing those AI solutions, the most disruptive innovation in this space is likely to come from non-traditional players outside the telecoms industry. The traditional telco vendors can achieve greater success, no doubt, in AI by pursuing strategic partnership rather than developing all AI capabilities internally. And that's why you can see those disruptors coming from outside the telco sphere. They are creating new alliances like AI RAN Alliance and so on, to be able or to enable the bigger supply chain to contribute and align around those programs. So what I strongly advise any traditional infrastructure player looking forward to not underestimate, those new alliances, AI alliances that are emerging from outside the telco spheres, because those will enable, all parties from operators to traditional infra vendors to accelerate, the deployment and implementations of AI within, the telco infrastructure. So it's early stage. AI RAN, starts early pilot projects by 2025. SoftBank is one of them who will be demonstrating, what can be done there. But don't expect large adoption, of AI in telco, talking about a strategic approach to AI, anytime before 2027.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your contributions, guys. That's very interesting stuff. Just to recap quickly, Malik spoke about the 5G AIization. I think that might be the new term that he coined, and the progress he's seen from telco vendors on integrating AI into their hardware, I suppose, and software stack as well, which sort of marks some serious progress in 5G. I would, I think, be correct in interpreting. So it's a very interesting space to watch. I'm sure we'll have some more to say about that at some point in the future as well. And thank you also, Reece, for speaking to us about sovereign AI. Very hot topic indeed, constantly in the news, and I don't think that's going anywhere either. So I'm sure we'll have some more to say about that as well. And then from my side, of course, the AI Server OEM and ODM research that I'm doing, which isn't over yet. One of 3 pieces of research about to be published, and we'll definitely keep people updated about that. And so, yeah, thank you very much for for watching today's debrief, and we'll see you in, I think, a month's time for the next one.